So here we go with his Vedic astrology now. So like I was saying before, he's got Mars and Saturn in the first house. His Rahu K2 axis is in his Rahu's in the 8th and K2's in the 2nd. He's got 4 benefic planets in the 3rd house, which is all about communication. So that's really strong. And I'll talk about that a little bit more. His Sun's in the 4th house. So those are the main placements of his planets in the different houses. But I'll go into detail about his ascendant and talk about his Sun and his Moon as well, and his Rahu K2 axis. So let's get into it. So his ascendant is Libra, which is ruled by Venus, which is about keeping balance and mutuality through conscientious action in relationships. They're conscientious, moral, cooperative, fair, just, agreeable, impartial, and harmonious. So that's what Libra is. That's his ascendant. He's got Mars in the 1st, like I was saying, which makes him confident, assertive, aggressive, powerful, independent, blunt, and straightforward. He's also brave, courageous, and adventurous. Makes her a powerful leader or commander. He's skilled in computers and technical fields because Mars deals with those areas of things. He easily defeats enemies and competitors. And Mars is very sexual, especially being in the 1st house because it's on you yourself. 1st house is yourself. So it makes him very sexual. You may find monogamy difficult, and I don't think he's been married yet. So he's just had different relationships, but nothing consistent. Married life and domestic harmony are spoiled in this position. It's called Kuja Dosha, which is Mars affliction. So that makes marriage a really hard thing, and it seems like he's actually avoided marriage because he finds it difficult. And Mars, creates fighting in relationships. So you don't really want that interfering with your relationships with fighting and stuff, because that usually leads to divorce and stuff. If it's too strong. So that's his Mars in the 1st house. He also has Saturn in the 1st house, which is exalted in Libra. So the benefits of the Saturn in 1st house are increased. So it makes him a leader. He obtains a high status. He's responsible, disciplined, and humble. It makes him spiritual and non-attached to the world. And he experiences tremendous gains in life. So that's all the positive things. It also says that his confidence isn't that high, but because his Mars is also there, that kind of counteracts it a little bit. He's going to be pretty confident. So he probably overcame some of that, but maybe it's a little bit mixed. He could be confident in some ways and not confident in others. So with the mix of those things. But both Mars and Saturn in the 1st house are leadership, ruling, commanding kind of things. So he's definitely a leader. So because Libra is in his 1st house, which is ruled by Venus, and his Venus is in the 3rd house, there's a connection between the 1st and the 3rd house. So this makes it strongly connected to his brothers and sisters and siblings. It makes him courageous, adventurous. His own efforts meet with success. Strong will, perseverance, and strong desires. There's interest in computers and also interest in possible career in music, dance, or drama, which does apply to him because he is doing music. I guess dance could factor into that a little bit. Drama also fits. He's been in movies and stuff. And he was in a documentary recently about his music. So that applies there too. So now we'll talk about his sun. It's in Capricorn, which is ruled by Saturn. It's building a legacy through discipline, patience, and perseverance. It makes them responsible, committed, hardworking, mature, determined, dedicated, and persistent. So that's Capricorn. His sun's in the 4th house. So there's a couple significations in the 4th house. 4th house is mother and home. Also education, like getting a degree. But the placement of the sun in the 4th house also aspects the 10th house. So there's some career significations there too. So basically this makes him ambitious, fond of power, has leadership tendencies, and maybe a boss. His mother could be strong-willed, overbearing, powerful, and successful with the placement of the sun in the 4th house. Says he will own a special home, land, and conveyances, may become interested in real estate. That's a possibility. Because sun is like, will indicate like the main area of life that you'll be focusing on. So it is focused on home in that sense. So that's why it indicates real estate. I'm not sure, I don't really know details for him about his real estate and home life, but there's some indications there because the sun's in the 4th house. Also, I don't know about his education, but it says that he'd obtain a fine degree. But it does give you a successful career, like I was saying, because it's aspecting the 10th house of career. And he'll wield much power towards the end of his life. So that's the sun in the 4th house. The sun's ruling the 11th house because Leo is in his 11th house. And the sun's in the 4th house, so there's 11th connection between 11th house and 4th house. So 11th house is like friends and groups. And also major goals and desires. So his friends and groups bring happiness, because 4th house is also happiness. So also he acquires land and homes, because 11th house is like gains and it's connected to his home life. He also fulfills major goals and desires with that placement. So that's his sun. We'll talk about his moon now. His moon is in Sagittarius, which is ruled by Jupiter. This is exploring life and life's purpose through expanding your mind, body, and spirit. They're adventurous, philosophical, open-minded, optimistic, freedom-loving, and purposeful. And I can see the philosophical thing going on. I mean, and like spiritual stuff with him. He's a very spiritual guy. You can tell through his lyrics that's the case. So, and he actually has 4 benefic planets in the 3rd house in Sagittarius. So like I'm saying here, this is just looking at his moon in the 3rd house, but he actually has Venus, Jupiter, and Mercury also. I think it's Mercury in the 3rd house. So all these things are going to be really emphasized a lot. All the 3rd house significations, which is like music, dance, and drama, and singing, and being an actor or singer. All those things are going to be strong. Makes him extremely expressive, filled with energy, adventurous, and motivated. He's thrilled to be alive, always busy, running errands, and enjoying life. He excels in publications or advertising as well. So you can see that if you look at his 3rd house with all those benefic planets there, he's just very talented in music and stuff, and singing and all that. And that's like the main area of his life. And like I was saying earlier, he has got first ruler in the 3rd, so he's directly connected to this house of music, dance, drama, communications, computer technology, stuff like that, expressive, communicative stuff. So that's his moon there. His moon is actually ruling this 10th house too, because Cancer is in his 10th house. and the moon's in the third. So the 10th house is his career. So it's actually indicating that his career is in music, dance, and drama. It could also be computer technology, advertising, or public relations. Makes him courageous and adventurous and has many short journeys, which makes a lot of sense because he actually travels a lot for his tours and stuff through music. So that's interesting to see. So now I'll talk about his Rahu and Ketu. Rahu and Ketu are the north and south nodes of the moon. They're eclipse points. They're also known as shadow planets because they're not actually visible, but they have a lot of occult significance. Rahu actually indicates what you crave in this life to experience. It's like the head of a body without the body. So it's like it takes in experiences and what it craves more and more. And K2 is the body without the head. So it's everything that's been processed already. It's your body. It's your instinctual self. So his Rahu is in the sign Taurus, and his K2 is opposite that in Scorpio. Rahu and Taurus indicates success in the arts, media, and entertainment, which is true in his case. Makes him disciplined and works towards success. There's immense potential to use ambition to create something beautiful. Connected deeply to both material and spiritual paths, because this placement is actually, I think it's considered exalted. K2 is connected to Scorpio naturally, so it's happy there, and Rahu is also happy in Taurus. So it's actually one of the best placements to have for your Rahu K2 axis. So he's actually really connected to the spiritual path through his K2, which is Scorpio related things, and Taurus, which is more material focused, which is what his Rahu is. So that's why it says he's connected deeply to both material and spiritual paths. You're going to be, with your Rahu K2 axis, you're going to be kind of vacillating between the two ends of things and trying to integrate both sides together. So that's how Rahu and K2 works. So this is interesting. The placement of his Rahu K2 in the houses is actually the opposite of his sign placement. So his Rahu is in the 8th house and his K2 is in the 2nd house. And the 8th house is associated with the 8th sign, which is Scorpio. And the 2nd house is associated with the 2nd sign, which is Taurus. So it's kind of like the same thing as having Rahu in Scorpio and K2 in Taurus, which is the opposite of his actual sign placement. So it kind of means that he's going to have more of the same significations, but it's going to be from the opposite side. So he's going to be juggling those two things again, but the significations are a little bit different. So I'll just read what it says. There's a strong urge to explore the dark reaches of society and dive into the still waters of human knowledge. His karmic path is linked to deep resources of nature and can look beyond the ordinary. He has thirst to experience everything, both good and bad. There's also a strong urge to activate the Kundalini energy. He may also be disconnected from his childhood, because the 2nd house indicates the childhood. So he may have faced rejection, isolation, and have a feeling of being a misfit. So this is interesting though. Like the 8th house is very deep, very spiritual, metaphysical. It goes very deep into things. And I feel like that fits with him, with his lyrics, how deep he goes into himself to pull out these feelings and understandings of different things he's experienced. And so he just keeps on diving deep into himself and trying to pull out the nuggets of truth and experience. Some of his lyrics are kind of negative. Sometimes, he's had a song about suicide, which is pretty dark. But like I was saying, there's to experience everything, both good and bad. So I feel like this really fits with him. It's also associated with research, the 8th house, and things behind the scenes and stuff. So those are other significations for the 8th house, Rahu. It's actually one of the harder placements. 8th house is not easy to deal with. So that's what he's got. That's his Rahu and Ketu. So here's the overall map again. Like I was saying, he's got those 4 planets in the 3rd house. His 3rd house is very dominant because both his 1st house and his 10th house are connected to the 3rd house. So his self is connected to the communication stuff, communicative arts. His career is connected to communicative arts. So that's very important. It just comes across really strongly for him. They're also, those 4 planets are all in the sign Sagittarius, which is a very philosophical and spiritual sign, which explains kind of the quality of his lyrics and stuff that he expresses through the communicative arts that he's involved in, like his music. Another big thing is his Mars and Saturn in the 1st, which really indicates leadership and rulership, stuff like that. But it also indicates harmed marriage life. So there's marital discord. I think he's avoided getting married, probably because he has this Kuja dosha, this Mars affliction. But Saturn also makes it tough for relationships like that too. So I think he's been single for a long time. I'm not sure if he's had a long-term girlfriend or anything like that. So that's a big signification. And then Sun in the 4th house also indicates leadership because it's aspecting the 10th house. So more leadership stuff there. And his Rahu Ketu axis has a focus on both the material and the spiritual, and going very deep into both those aspects of things. So that's his Vedic astrology.